Welcome to BIMS TV. I'm Chanté Lively, and this is BIMS Bites. And today I'll be biting into the Georgia salt marsh ecosystem. Georgia's coast is on my mind. The state of Georgia is home to 100 miles of coast connected to the Atlantic Ocean. It also has around 14 barrier islands. I personally worked on Skidaway Island. On each island, you can find a range of ecosystems from the maritime forest, coastal beaches, estuaries, oyster reefs, and the salt marsh, which is what we'll be talking about today. Georgia has a few unique coastal characteristics due to its location in the South Atlantic Bight. This bight, spelled B-I-G-H-T, refers to how curved the western coastline of the Atlantic coast is and is measured from Cape Hatteras, North Carolina, to Cape Canaveral, Florida. Georgia's coast is the furthest part of the western coastline and is at the center of the curve. Our deep curvature leads to some pretty cool tides. Georgia's semi-diurnal tides of 2 highs and 2 lows every day have around a 6 to 10 foot tidal difference. Now about the salt marsh. The salt marsh is a type of coastal wetland that is constantly flooded and drained by salt water brought in by the tides. They can be found worldwide with a distribution north of 32 degrees north and south of 38 degrees south. Note that the salt marsh is one of the most biologically productive ecosystems on Earth. The marsh can be divided up into ecological zones based on elevation plus the depth and timing of the tides. Firstly, the marsh is located between the maritime live oak forest, a forest by the coast, and the estuary, the transition zone where freshwater and saltwater meet and mix. The high marsh zone possesses sandier soil and greater plant and animal diversity, while only being flooded occasionally. Next are the bare sandy areas known as salt pans, which occur where the salt concentration has become great enough to prevent all plant life. Lastly, there's the nutrient-rich, anaerobic, low oxygen content, low marsh. Flooded twice daily, it makes up the majority of the southern marshlands. Now let's say you're walking along the salt marsh. What is it that you're going to see? The beautiful expanse of green you see in all the pictures is Spartina alterniflora, or smooth cordgrass. Another scientific name you may find for it is Spirabolus alterniflorus. It is the monoculture or dominant plant of the salt marsh. Found in the low marsh zone, Spartina is a halophyte or salt-tolerant plant with a few special adaptations to help it thrive in the high dynamics of the marsh. A few other permanent residents are those marsh periwinkle snails and fiddler crabs, while some ephemeral residents are diamondback terrapins, snowy egrets, and blue crabs. At any time in the marsh, you might also smell rotten eggs, the smell of sulfur, or hear a popping sound of mud fiddlers opening up their burrows to crawl out into the exposed mud during low tide. The salt marsh provides just so many ecosystem services, such as benefiting fisheries and the coastal economy, capturing and storing CO2, such almost 100 times more than forest plants, being essential food, refuge, or nursery habitat for more than 75% of fishery species, including shrimp, blue crab, and many finfish, acting as a natural filter of excessive nutrients, toxic substances, sediments, and pollution, like a sponge, absorbing excess water caused by runoff, which helps to keep the surrounding areas safe from extreme flooding and erosion, and just having good cultural, social, and recreational importance, as you can see from me in this picture. But what makes Georgia's salt marsh so special? According to UGA Marine Extension and Georgia Sea Grant, Georgia is home to the second largest amount of marshland in the United States, a third of the salt marsh on the East Coast, and is home to around 500,000 acres of total marshland in the state. This is due in part to Georgia's mission to protect its wetlands through legislation like the Marshland Protection Act of 1970, the Shore Protection Act of 1979, and Section 404 of the Clean Water Act. But most importantly, Georgia's salt marsh is still here thanks to the many interested residents of Georgia who are salt marsh stewards. That's all the time I have for today. I hope you enjoyed your journey through Georgia's salt marsh ecosystems. Our coast is a wonderful marvel that I spent many months living, working, and exploring as an educator. I hope the next time you visit Georgia's salt marsh, you're amazed by how special and beneficial this ecosystem is. Thanks so much for watching this BIMS Bite on Georgia's salt marsh ecosystems. Once again, I'm Chanté Lively, and if you want to hear me gush more about Georgia's salt marsh or its other ecosystems, feel free to check out my website or reach out to me by email. Please follow, like, and subscribe Black and Marine Science on all social media handles, and we'll see you soon. Bye.